It's allergy season. Nose is a little sniffly, so if I'm sneezing...
Are you on?
Yeah.
We're on.
Yeah, we're on.
How's my hair?
Good.
Is it though?
It's the same as always. It's the same as always.
Really?
You're the only one that sees it different. I know because I do the same thing with my hair.
Right.
Except now with my long hair in the morning, every morning I wake up, my Christine's dying laughing because my hair's like this.
Yeah.
Out to the side.
Yeah.
Hilarious. It's long. My bangs can almost touch the back here.
You're getting a head of hair on you, bud.
I know. Maybe I'll chop. Yeah, seriously, it sticks out to the side. I'm not joking. Not that much, but I'm trying to tell a story here.
Got the peanut gallery over here.
Yeah, I know. So what's up? What's up with you?
Not much. I'm just kidding. It's a podcast. You're supposed to talk, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get you warmed up here.
What's up? Just kind of winding up, right? Winding up the season, watching the playoffs, watching some interesting junior, watching some interesting NHL, watching coaches get hired and fired. It's the nature of the business. Patiently seeing what's happening in Guelph with their coaches, a couple coaching jobs in the OHL, NHL, like a lot of stuff. I like that stuff.
Who do you like for NHL playoffs right now?
I like
still Rangers.
I love the Rangers, and I like Dallas. I've watched a few Dallas games, and I really like the way they play.
What's the matchup again? It's Edmonton, Dallas, and New York, Florida. So you got New York, Dallas. Is that your pick?
No, I you know what? If I can't even say this is who I think is going to win because now you're at the 4 that
anyone's
who
game.
knows, man.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Do you have a pick or no? Who do you got?
And then like with Edmonton,
you got New York, Dallas. Yeah,
I like Dallas a lot. And like Edmonton, you could say whatever you want. They've got a couple guys there that are
game changers, man.
They could change a game in an instant. So
I thought Vancouver was pulling it out for sure.
Yeah,
I thought they were going
to. The last game I watched, it was good.
Yeah,
really
I didn't get to watch it.
I watched the first period of the last game, and I thought they were out. Vancouver's getting outshot, but I thought they were playing well.
So you remember Nugent Hopkins' goal last game?
I didn't see it.
So it was like off the back wall. Did you see it, Charlie? Like off the back wall.
Okay.
When Nugent Hopkins scored last game off the back wall. So Mac was going over that in video yesterday and just pointing out that I forget who the defenseman was in front for Vancouver, but he was right with Hopkins the whole time. Shot goes off the back wall, and in the time it took him to turn around, it was just enough time for him to get a shot off. Like perfect shot, basically, like in the only spot he could score. But got it off, goal, and it was like that. It was not even a half a second. It took him, he turned left instead of right and didn't get to his stick in time, and it was a goal. And it was crazy just like how fast those kind of plays happen. So it's that time of year, like you're saying, with doesn't matter. Anybody can win now. It's interesting. So this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the PowerTech online membership program. If you've been listening to Andy and I wondering, hey, how are they able to get all this podcast content out there? Well, that's because of our members. For just $9.99 a month, you can get access to our online video library, including hundreds of videos of Coach Andy teaching, and have the option for consultation calls with Andy or myself to go over anything you need. We can cover training, nutrition, coaching, parenting, agents, the junior college hockey path, whatever's of interest to you. You'll also be able to participate in our popular Ask Me Anything episodes, have access to special discount codes, and be given priority for any PowerTech in-person camps or events. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, this is the best way to do it. Visit powertechhockey.ca/memberships or find the link in the description of this video to learn more. What do you want to start on? Do you want to get right into your thing, or do you want
to? I just want to not clear up, but just talk briefly about one or two things on the last couple episodes. So there was the last couple episodes, I believe, we were talking about camps and if you pay for camps, that type of thing. So a couple people I just saw a couple comments. I don't pay too much attention to it. I know you are the one that usually answers and stuff.
Yeah, decreasingly.
And it's just I encourage people to listen to the whole podcast. I'm not even negative about this. I just want to make sure people understand where we're coming from. And so one was, we're just saying that if you're going around chasing camps and you're not, and you have to go and pay for them, that they're probably not, like the development camps and stuff like that, that you're probably just throwing money around, right? So I had a couple of people say, well, yeah, but what's Andrew Mangiapane? Is that his name? Someone wrote, and I think he's someone I know from Sudbury that wrote that, said, he goes, yeah, but Andrew Mangiapane made it to the Barrie Colts without, he's a walk on. Yeah. And then someone else wrote today. I just read. I laughed. I said, so if I get what you're saying, if an WHL team invites you to a camp, just say no. And he goes, that's a sure way to tell them what type of player you're now and in the future. And it's like, okay, so but I know that some people are trying to, like, someone is trying to be a smart ass, but I also know that some people are maybe didn't hear the message. So that would be like if you say just no because I wasn't drafted in the NHL, OHL, right? Then yeah, you're dumb. Because there's only 7 picks like you can make teams if you're true walk-ons or invites, right? They're looking for the best players in the world. What my point is that once you get to the lower levels of junior hockey, there's these development camps that are not the actual main camps that you have to pay, where they get invites, and you can tell by the emails. And if they're interested in you at all, you're not forking out all kinds of money to go to these camps, chasing them around. So yes, so I just want to be clear, because part of it is, like I said, some people are smart asses, and some people want to just point out things that it's like, that makes no sense. Like, maybe we look like complete idiots and sound like complete idiots, maybe, but like, for people that when they write that, it's like, it's not like I coach Pee-wee hockey in my life and that's all I know and I'm making shit up. It comes from like actual hockey. So now the exceptions are, you can be a kid living in maybe a remote area where you haven't been scouted heavily. Very true. And that maybe you do have to go and chase a camp here and there to get noticed. Of course, that could be a thing. Of course. Like if you're from Moose, or not Moose Jaw, but from the Paw, Saskatchewan, and you're trying to get to a big city and no one's really seen you, I mean, that is something that you might need to do, or you might want to do, but you don't have to, because someone will find you. But that could get you to a junior team. Now you got to remember that there's in Canada and okay, let's go Canada, US. In Canada, when I'm talking, I hope it's, well, I don't care. If it might sound disrespectful, but what I'm talking about is, like, in Canada, it's the Ontario Hockey League, the Western Hockey League, the Q. I'm talking about the BCHL. I'm talking about the Ontario Junior Hockey League, like Junior A, and then a little bit of Junior B, but like that's the tops. Yeah. In the States, I'm talking about the USHL, and I'm talking about the North American League. And I know in the States it could be a little bit different than in Canada, but not much. After that, the junior levels after that, it's like you're scrambling to find, and I'm no disrespect, but like a legit hockey player. And that, again, the caveat to that is there could be someone that comes from junior C at 19 and makes it. Like, there's always exceptions, man. Exceptions. But I'm just saying, as a player or as parents, when you're going out looking for places to play, if you're getting invites and those blanket emails to come to a camp and spend this money and it costs you money, it's like it just probably means you're not ready to move up to a junior level. So the flip side of that, again, is I want to be very encouraging, because I see this often, is kids get invites. They're late bloomers. They're just got kind of passed over in drafts, whatever the reasons are, and they go to camps and they look real good and they earn spots. And that's what hockey is.
That was me. That was literally exactly me.
There you go. So earning spots is a thing, and it's the same as in the NHL and at every level. So anyways, my point to all that stuff was that the OHL, but if you go to an OHL camp or a Western League camp, you don't pay to go to the camp. There is a big difference. So that, like talking about that Mangiapane that walked on in Barrie and made it, yeah, that happens. Not on every team every year, but it happens quite often. They have good camps and they make a team. So I've never meant anything other than that. That's a legit thing. But he didn't have to pay $500 to go to a 2-day camp or a 3-day camp. That's my thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, I know most of the people that listen to this get it. For the few that maybe we're going like, so are you being like discouraging people from going to camps? That's not what I was saying.
Yeah. Well, I got one that I saw the other day that was basically, it was a clip of me saying something, and one of the comments was like, basically, this guy's message is just quit. It was like, that's like everything I say is negative and quit and whatever. And it's
no,
like,
you're just throwing numbers out.
But in the podcast, we talk about both things. Like, we fully explained, hey, if you want to go for an experience, even if you have to pay, if you want to go, that's fine. but just know what you're doing, know where you're going, know what it's for. Because guys walk even the paid camps. Like if you go to a lot of these junior A camps, I'm not sure about BCHL, but a lot of junior A camps you have to pay to go still. And
Which junior A's?
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like
Oh.
BCHL,
Like,
you have to pay.
okay, what I'm saying is I know OHL, WHL, and the Q.
Yes.
You do not.
BCHL.
I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But either way.
Okay. So if that kid right there got invited to the Penticton V's, let's say, do you think he'd have to pay?
No.
Right.
But I'm saying even if you had to pay to go to the Penticton V's development camp,
right,
it's possible that you go there and light it up, and
sure,
now they say
sure.
come back to main camp, and maybe you make that can happen, which we said also, But as a rule of thumb, what I don't like or what I discourage players from doing is go to every single camp in your area or every single camp that you've ever heard of, where you do 3 junior C camps, 4 junior B camps, and you're all over the place. And for 2 months of your off season, you're at camps paying $200 to $400 per camp. It's like this is not what we want to be doing, and that happens. People do that where they're going to 3-4 camps in a 2-month stretch, and now you haven't had an off season.
Yeah. Well, so just to add to your comment, is Charlie and I were talking to a director of an NHL team this morning, and he was just talking about how. He was shooting the shit a bit about how they've been talking about at the development camp not putting the kids on the ice at all. And so we talk about this all the time, right? When guys go, like, sometimes it's a blessing not to play for the U18s in the summer and have all these things because it takes away from your training. So as we were talking, it's like, so they had the discussion within the group, and they're saying, okay, tell me why not within the group. It's like, because kids need to get stronger. Like every time that you go and work out for 2-3 weeks, and then you have that, let's say the development camp where you are doing it, like, are you bagging them? Is it a try? Like, so it's like more just keep them. It's development camp. You're teaching them about the team. You maybe do some. So they're saying like even the baseline testing in July. Why? They might have just finished their seasons. So why was I saying that? Is because chasing around stuff. It's like, yeah, you got to make your priorities first, and it should be like your training and stuff. Yeah. So at the NHL level, there's a lot more discussion about it. We've always talked about that. It's like you got to pick your spots of when are you training, when are you competing, when are you relaxing, when are you recovering.
And I'm in the thick of this right now too, because like with one of our teams, like the parents, they're getting antsy to skate, and I'm like, go play soccer, like go on vacation, like go do something else. Like, and we're talking 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Like this is the group that we're talking about.
Okay, so let me just clean that up. This is May 22nd today. Their season just ended, and they want to skate like now. Why?
I don't know.
I'm asking legit why.
I actually don't know. I think it's just I can understand on one, like from maybe one perspective, it's like nice to keep in contact with the team, and maybe you're playing with some new players, maybe there's new staff, maybe it's a new situation and you just want to be around a little bit to get comfortable. I can understand that to a degree, but it's like if I said no, we're not skating, like is someone gonna be upset?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And this is what I'm thinking of right now, because again, this is like guys that are in the hockey industry. Like we're looking at it like exactly this question that we're just discussing. It's like, okay, the NHL teams are saying, hey, at development camp with our NHL prospects, maybe we'll not skate.
There's a couple teams that did that already.
So it's it's just, again, being in the land of the reasonable, you have to think of these kinds of things. You have to be able to take a break, one, or work on something else, which is as you get a little bit older, your off season. That is huge. That is huge, man. Even for these guys, like they're 18. What are you, 18? 18, 17, 19, 20. It's like there's still growth that needs to happen there.
Well, it's
and
huge.
If you constantly hinder it, and you'll still grow to a degree just because your body's naturally going through it. But if you keep hindering it because you're constantly on the ice and you're not taking that time to recover or to do something different or to build muscle or to whatever, and it's constantly just hammer the cardio on the ice, constantly beat your body down, not recover from little tweaks, little injuries, then you're just hindering the growth process, you know, and that's hard for people to wrap their head around again when they're in it, and they just don't necessarily know how it works as much. So I had a conversation with dad yesterday on the phone. He was asking me about what his kid needs to be doing with the off ice stuff, and he started the conversation, which I love this. It's not a pat on the back to me. It's more to the parent. How he was just like, I don't know what to say, and I don't want to have to say it. I just want to be able to send him somewhere, and I know he's getting what he needs off ice. That's all I care about. He's like, I'll pay the money. I'll get him there when he needs to be there. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it because that's what I want the kid to get. And I was like, right on, man. Like, good for you, because assuming you have someone that is going to be doing the right things by your kid while they're developing, which that could be a separate conversation, but that is what you want if you're a parent that doesn't actually know what should be done, you know. But you get caught up as per our usual discussions here, you know. So so that's cool. Good clarification. You want to do your next thing here?
Yeah. So it's funny. Last week I had a customer call asking if they could talk. They said, does he need an agent? So he's 17. Should we get an agent at this point? And it was a very late OHL pick, right? And so you know what my answer was. Like, it was no. But we had a good discussion about it, like, because I don't want to just say no without because
why.
at the why, or understanding what are you looking for one for, what do you consider an agent and all that stuff. So we had a good conversation. But yesterday I had I got a text here, and this is, I'll never say the name, but friend of mine. So he has a son that was drafted in the NHL, and he's in his signing window right now. And so I don't maybe they're working on it, or it's maybe not happening, or maybe it is. I don't know what the issues is there, but I'm just I'm going to actually be talking to him today, but I'm going to be putting this together. What?
Putting some context behind it. Is that what you mean?
No, I don't know. I don't know what I was saying. No, I was just saying, like, that's my own thoughts.
Yeah,
That's like
sure.
that's what it appears to me based on his question. So, but it could be something totally different. But anyways, he said, "Hey, Andy, and I have a question for you. How do you know?" I can read well, eh? How do you, I do read. I do. I'm good at reading, just to myself in my head. Okay, hey Andy, I have a question for you. How do you know that your agent is working for you or not? And this could actually be one of your next podcast interviews, and signed, whatever. So I said, is it okay if I actually talk about it tomorrow? It'll come out Sunday. He goes, yeah, absolutely. And then, do you want to call me about this and we'll talk? And he goes, yeah, I do. So I'm talking to him today at later today. So how do you know your agent is working for you? And it's a good question, but it's a loaded question, because first of all, what is an agent? What is an advisor? What type of agent? What do you mean working for you? What do you expect from them? All those things.
Where's the kid at? Like,
right
all
on,
this
right
stuff.
on.
There's
So
a million things.
yeah. So in this particular situation, we have I'll give a little background of the player himself. Good player, real good. High draft pick in the OHL. Pretty high draft pick in the NHL. So OHL, NHL. Been to some of the prestigious, I'm not going to say which ones because I don't want anybody to ever figure out who it is. Been to the prestigious things, like, let's call it the U17s, the U18s, the top prospects, NHL top prospects camps, all those different things, the combine, all that kind of stuff.
So this is a legit player.
Legit player,
Yeah.
legit player, good player.
That's the bottom line.
Good player. So drafted, and he's in the middle of it. So we're not talking about someone that is looking for, like, his agent is doing it. He's a good player, right? So how do you know he's working for you? So let me back up now. So this is the player we're talking about. So it's not like they're just a guy that got an agent just so he can get a job, like a junior position somewhere, making phone calls. So this was a guy that had a bigger agencies come up to him and say, like, we would like to sign you and take care of you. Okay. So a lot of people, like, if you're a top end player when you're younger, especially, like, say the 15, 16, 17, 18, what an agent is in the big scheme of things, this is what it is. It's someone that's going to represent you, to help you negotiate your contracts. That's what it is. They represent you. So when we used an agent, the only thing we've really used our agent for was when my son was in his draft year. And this, I hope this makes sense. When he was in his draft year, there's not much the agent can do. This was his OHL draft year, except for they have some relationships, and a lot of the teams will go through the agent and they can have relationships and say, yeah, we see this. Would he come here? Would he want to come here? This is where we slot him. So through the first, the month before the OHL draft, every week or so, he'd give us an idea. Oh, I heard you had this team called and said you had an interview. They would like the interview. They like you. They have you slotted in around here. And it was information. Okay. And it was kind of good because it was like, okay,
I give you a clue.
Yeah, like based on what we're getting as information is you're going to be a pretty high pick, like actually very high pick. So that was like cool. So like, but you can't hold the Ottawa 67s to we're taking you at this number because things can change, things can happen. But it was a ballpark. And at this point, Ian is doing work for free, right? I'm not paying him. We don't pay him right now for the work that he does. So like if this kid comes through at 22 years old and makes zero money in hockey, Ian has worked for free. Okay. So from this point, when my kid got drafted, the next thing was, and looking back on it, and I kind of knew, but I thought it was important, like for me to separate dad, coach, team. I felt it was important that there's a business, like the business side of it is taken care of by a business person, which is
you need a third
our
party
agent
in there.
Yeah. So you have a third party take care of that. So anyways, in the OHL, the packages are pretty standard. You get a gold or you get a OHL package that pays for every year. Like there's not a lot. There's a little bit here and there. And sometimes it can be generous or whatever. So anyways, what was good is the agent looked at the paperwork and made sure everything was good, signed it. It's like, okay, now what? Now the question is, what can an agent do for you after that? You have to play. So to me, the agent, if you need one, is, and this is how we've kept it, is that if you need a business transaction, I don't want to be the one doing it, so Ian would do that. We've never had to do that. So his only next job would be to, if there's a contract coming up, is to do the deal, negotiate.
Yeah.
In between that, now people could argue, yeah, but how do you promote him? It's like, well, that's not his job. Promoting. People might think that, but that's not his job. Your promotion is how you play. So, anyways, that's that. The next type of agents are, in college you have advisors, which could be the same people that just have different names for some freaking reason. Don't know why. But the high end professional agents are not charging money. They get paid on a percentage of your contract. And then just because I had a couple people the last couple of weeks ago, yeah, nice bill you get now. What did they do to earn that money? It's like, everyone's excited about getting an agent. And you like it because it was your Bobby Big Wheel when you were 16, but now you got to pay the money. And then you can look back and say, yeah, what did they do? Right? What did they do?
That happens.
That's a great question.
Time.
Right. All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So I had a very, very high profile guy come in my office one day. He goes, these guys, if I make this money, they're getting this much. He goes, screw that. I'm firing them. I go, oh, but you liked it when they got you the first one, didn't they? And he kept them. Anyway, so there's that. Then you got so then the level of agents.
Sorry, pause. Just clean it up. So basically where we're at, we've introduced this player you're talking about who's high OHL pick. He's an NHL pick. The question comes in, how do you know the agent's working? Yeah. That's where we started. We're still there. So then we just talked about the kind of the top tier agent for the high level player and what their job would be going into, let's say, the OHL or NCAA versus the next step where they do something would be NHL contract negotiation. That's kind of like the actual agent at the root of it. That's their job. Anything beyond that isn't really their job. So that's kind of where we're at. Negotiate the contracts And then you can get into like certain agents want to call more than others and this kind of thing, but that's not really their job to do that. It's like their job is to negotiate the contracts. If there's an issue, it's a third party person that can have discussions. That's what the agent does at the highest level.
Yeah.
Good there.
Yes.
So now we're going into next tier.
So the next tier of agents or advisors is not what I'm going to be talking about today, but I just want people to understand that. Is that the next tier is that there's a lot of people that have agents or advisors to help them get places in the junior world. Now, for me, I don't understand it because I think most of the stuff you could just do yourself, or part of it is not necessary. But there's some guys that use it and they like it, and God bless you, the horse rode in on. So those ones would be like, so Eric, you're playing midget, or you're maybe going to junior B, but you want to get other places. So you pay a fee for someone to help you get to another team.
Make some calls.
So they make some calls.
Maybe they have a network. Whatever.
They have a network. They make some calls. They get you a camp, or they get you maybe promote enough to get you to out west or whatever. But we're not talking the OHL and stuff. We're getting at different levels, and then maybe everything works out. Maybe it doesn't. But that's a different type of agent. That's not the one I'm talking about today. Just to be clear. Okay. So now the question is, how do you know he's working for you? So we're going to go back to player A that we're talking about. So it's interesting because, again, I think it always comes back to, well, no, my question will be later on today is like, what do you consider working for you? That's the question. Or what's your expectations? Because if the expectations are you're the agent and we haven't signed, that's like, if the agent has just not spoken at all to the team, I think that's more of an indication of the team, like, because the team will talk to you if they want to sign you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So let's do this.
They don't need the agent to say, okay, we do want to sign.
Right.
Okay.
So let's do this. So if I'm let's say I'm player A and I got drafted, and now it's like, okay, we're in that window to sign.
Yeah.
Okay. If I ask you the question, what should the agent be doing during this time? If you're the agent,
that's a great way to do it.
What should the agent be doing? And then we'll talk about what they wouldn't or shouldn't do.
Okay. So for this particular player, so at this particular time, which I'm positive the agent has been doing, has probably had some contact with the team to find out, hey, how is Eric doing?
So this would be management, GM.
Yeah.
Coach,
it's
a scout,
in that level.
someone.
Yeah. So there's discussions going on, like, what's the development path looking like? Are you guys keeping touch with him? Is he following the groundwork laid out that you've given him? Or how much communication have you had with him? Are we getting close to a contract? Are we getting there? And that's basically all you can do, right? So in that period, it could be, we're going to offer him, like, so because there's not a contract signed right now, it doesn't mean that there's not a contract offered. It could be just not one that you like, or maybe you want a little bit more, or you feel like I'm not going to, maybe they're saying, I don't think he fits in that organization, so we don't want to sign, right? That could be a thing that's going on here too. So if that's the case, the agent might be working and you don't really know. Right. Or maybe they've had that conversation, not sure. But as of right now, there's not much you can do except for maybe asking, if you're not going to sign him, can you put him somewhere else? Like, can you move his rights to somewhere else, or can you put him back in the draft? Right. But up until this point, that's one thing. And the next thing would be like, is there another place to play? So the other thing an agent could be looking at is there Russia, Europe, American League, some pro level, or maybe it's a trade in the OHL or something like that. Maybe there's things like that they're looking at that he's not seeing getting done.
Right. Okay.
But there's not a lot you can do, I don't think.
Right. Okay. So let's bring it back again. So I'm going to take player A. Let's say, so player A got this agent, let's say when he was 15 or 16, for argument's sake. So first step was agent helped to whatever degree they can with that OHL contract, making sure that's fine.
Yeah.
Good. Check.
And probably touch base with some teams to see.
Right.
Use a relationship.
Get some information. Where's he at?
Yeah.
Boom. Okay. So that's one thing. That's what the agent should be doing. Not much more than that. The player is going to be where they're going to be going into the OHL draft more or less.
Okay, so there's a good question. So because that's come up in our situations, right? Like in our people that we deal with. So it's like we would everyone would love to know what every team is saying about you or where you're ranked and all that kind of stuff. But why, if you're the Boston Bruins, why, if I'm representing a player and I say, hey, where do you see Eric? Well, what are they going to say to you? Yeah. Why would they tell you and not? They keep it inside internally. So why would I tell you that? Oh, we think Eric is going to be our 3rd round pick. Well, first of all, they're not going to say that. They might, and they're going to say, beat it. I'm not telling you, or oh no, we got him on our board. It's great. But what does it mean? Nothing.
Yeah, because it can change nothing. Like that.
It could change nothing, and it could be just like, we like them, but they can't give you information. So if you're asking for your agent to give you information about your player, it's like, what do you want?
There's only so much they can.
Well, yeah, there's the draft hasn't happened. They so can't commit.
So even in your case, it was like a range of a ballpark area, and you guys, I was there with you. Like you guys weren't sure at all, right?
Yeah.
So
it was like in
you
this
had
area,
ballpark,
and it was in that area,
right? Don't know what team, you don't know who's going to be, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And you had the top tier agent guy. Yeah. So anyway, so summarizing with the path. So this player A that we're talking about had that.
Yeah.
Then through the OHL career, maybe there was some
1,000% there was contact with the agent and teams.
And then up to the NHL draft, they're doing the same thing as they did in the OHL draft, gathering information. Maybe what do you see, this, that. Then the kid gets drafted. Now we're at the point where we're at today, where it's like, okay, now we're trying to see where's he at. And again, it's in that information transfer position where he's the third party that's relaying information to the player that he's getting from the team he's been drafted to now. So again, just to summarize what you were saying, it's okay. Is there an offer coming? Where do you guys see him? Is he following the right development path? Have you been keeping an eye on him? Should we be looking at other things? Yada, yada, yada. This is the agent having that discussion and hopefully relaying the information. So what's going to happen is either a contract will come or it's going to be like, okay, we now have to make a plan for next year of what's going to happen for next year. Try again after that. Because I think what's the window? So if you're drafted by an NHL team, it's same. So you get 2 years
from junior. Yeah. From junior.
So if they don't sign you, then we're moving on. So they still have some time.
And the kid could say, I'm not signing.
Yeah, right.
So maybe that's what's going on
for
too.
sure. So that's kind of where it's at. What the agent, let's talk about what the agent can't do. Okay, so what the agent now can't do is really impact the situation to any serious degree. So they can kind of negotiate for things on the margins, but the bulk of what is being offered or the bulk of where the kid fits or the bulk of what the team thinks is going to be what it is. So if they say around the edges, okay, here's your contract, and the agent says, we want like a little bit more of X, a little less of Y, then maybe it's a yes or no. But like the frame is the frame. You know,
the frame is the frame. Yeah, I'll let you finish.
So if there isn't an agreement, this is why people move on with life and do something else, right? He'll go try to play somewhere else, find a different league, get traded, go to a different camp, go to whatever. That is basically the gist. What I feel, before you go on, what I feel the expectation can be on the agent is like impact the situation to get me exactly what I want, or you're not doing a good job. Is that like fair to say?
I would say that's very often.
Okay, so that's kind of a summary of what's going on.
You expect your agent to do hockey stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, just to go back to the contract thing, where a super agent, like the big names, when they have like really high-end players, where this may be a detriment to not have a big name, powerful name, would be, so if you're like, let's say the best agent, and we're taking this player A and he's with the best agency, a little tactic could be like, okay, so McDavid's coming up or whatever, name a big name that he represents is coming up next year. So if you're not signing him, then maybe we're going to look somewhere else. Yeah. So there's a little leverage there.
Like
but
they could leverage another player
at the end of the stand, but those guys are pretty reasonable too, that they're not going to look at whatever team and say, well, if you don't sign him, we're like, they understand that they say, no, it's just not what we want right now. We thought we had it, or he's not worth that type of money. So the agents are pretty realistic at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So then maybe let's go to the person asking you the question now, where they're saying, "How do I know that my agent is working for me?" With a little bit of that context of what we just discussed now, how does that, or how do you feel that discussion, or how would you even start that discussion now with this person asking the question?
Well, I guess the big thing is like, what is your expectations of what is work, right? So I think if you're having a reasonable amount of conversation throughout the year, where this is what they're saying, this is what the team's saying. Like, I've talked to them about this. Negotiations are not going great. Negotiations are going great. I think that's what you call working for you. Um, maybe the next piece would be like, well, okay, so this team is not willing to sign you yet, or they're looking elsewhere. Maybe you are contacting other teams about, looks like he's might be free agent, whatever, and you're putting some things in the works or talking to other teams, getting feedback from other teams, other leagues. But beyond that, I don't know really what you would need from your agent, because here's the thing, and this goes back to even just getting drafted, is you could have the best agent in the world and you could have the best year of your draft where it looks like you're going to be the highest prospect, but things could change. You could stagnate. You could maybe don't get better. Maybe you get lost in the shuffle and it's just not your time and it doesn't work out. The agent's not responsible for how you play. Like, they can try to, in junior, they can not pull strings. That's not the word I'm looking for, but they could push some buttons to, make sure you're getting your quality ice if you're a quality player, and, try to push some buttons. But at the end of the day, you got to perform. And if your performance is not with the team, and this is no disrespect to anybody, man, if your performance is not what the team projected, then you're not going to sign a contract, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think the other element of it too, sometimes the agent's information that they get, they might be wrong, but even if they're being honest, sometimes it can just change. So if like, for an example, I was talking to an agent before the OHL draft, and they were telling me that, oh, I got this one player, he's projected to be around like a 4th round pick. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, cool. Talked about that a little bit. Draft comes and goes. The guy ended up being a 7th round pick. And so if I'm that family and this agent was like, hey, looking like you're going to be around the 4th round, and then I go in the 7th round, well, I could say to my agent, well, you said I was going to be in the 4th round. Like, you didn't do a good job. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not, and it's like, no, maybe they had you at 4th round, but then 3 other players that they thought were going to be gone were still there when they were drafting. So they decided to pick those 3 guys, and things can change on a dime because teams don't know who the other teams are going to pick, or your last 3 weeks of the season, you weren't as good as when I had that initial conversation, or there's all these different variables that can play into it. So sometimes what can seem like, an agent isn't doing a good job or isn't working for you could just be circumstances that are out of everyone's control, that really there's nothing you can do to impact that. They weren't lying or giving you wrong information or not working. It was just, it ended up being different than what you thought for various reasons.
Yeah. Well, and here's a funny thing that I was thinking about last night. When people always are so, like, when they get a email, text, or whatever, or contact with an agent, people are so, like, honored by it. Like, who's your agent? Or got a call from an agent. It's like almost like as big as getting drafted to people. But, like, the reality is an agent is, like, you don't know the person, and they're like, I'm painting it as blunt as I can. They don't know you. They see your talent. In their talent, they think you're going to make money. Once you make money, they want to be in your pockets, take their money. That's what it is. It's a business transaction. They don't know you. So it's really funny. Like, the progression of, I've seen this a lot, is when it's like going on a date and you like the person at first. Like, you see a girls. When you see a girl and you go, oh man, like, she's hot, like, I like her, and then you have the ability to meet her or whatever, and it's like, well, it's gonna be great, and it's like everything's good at first. She's got her makeup on, all that kind of stuff, and then as you start, and she takes care of herself, right? When you go on a date, you never see her in her pajamas, like, smoking a dart with her hair in rollers. right? She's got her makeup on. She never leaves the house when she go on a date without looking her best. It's the same thing as an agent. When you're first with an agent, everything's good. You're the best. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Oh man, this is the best. This is the best marriage you could ever have. And you could, and a lot of the times when you get in these relationships, it's like they're so anxious to tell you all the good stuff. Talk to this team. Talk to this team. Like it's new. So one of the things that you can see as it goes on, if you're not hearing anything bad or anything from the negative side, and you're not hearing anything from the good side, that's a good sign that they're not being honest with you, or they don't want to tell you the truth, or they only want to say the good things. So if they're not giving you any feedback, which I love about like Ian, right? He'll say like, and it's like I'm not asking for his hockey advice ever, but like he'll point things out that who knows, like this team said this, but who knows, man? Like there's other guys, and he paints a more realistic picture. But at the end of the day, he'll never know.
Yeah.
Until draft day.
Yeah.
That's the end of the day.
The other thing too that this happened with so many guys. I remember playing that when I was younger. They had agents and whatever, and they were the young guy that was good, and somebody jumped on them because they could see potential, whatever. And then as they get a little bit older, and maybe they're not panning out to be a top end guy, the agent doesn't pay as much attention to you now, right?
What's the point now?
What's the point, right?
Yeah.
So
and they're shorter. There's not as much contact. So the money's gone.
Yeah, the money's gone. So now I've
which
heard
is fair.
This for sure. I've heard this several times, countless examples where they were saying, "Yeah, my agent, he's not getting back to me," or I'm trying to get a contract out in Europe or something, and there's no teams that are asking. Like I don't know what this guy's doing. Like I don't know why he's not making more calls or whatever. It's like, yeah, because you're not the important one anymore. You know what I mean? Because there's other guys now. They went back to the young guys again. They have the new crop. They have the new crop. They have the new crop, and you're not important anymore because it is a business transaction at the end of the day. So even if you're buddies or whatever, it's like you're not going to make me any money, man. So I'm not going to keep putting work into you when you're a 25-year-old now. So the time is kind of come and gone. So that I've seen that a lot. But kind of you're kind of pointing out some of the negatives about the agent that can happen. So what would you say, like, for the question of if the agent isn't working for you and you're like, okay, now I need to change my agent, what would be the circumstances where you would say changing your agent is appropriate? Because players do that too.
I would say
if they're stealing from you, that would be one.
Yeah, that would be one. But I would say this, like, I think your expectations of what an agent is one thing. The reality of what they can do or what you are is another. So I think you have to have a pretty good understand one thing, first of all, is that the agent doesn't make you a hockey player. You create your own breaks. Agent's not there to promote you. Your promotion is done on the ice. And every time you step on the ice, go in public, your body language, your practice habits, all these things add up to one big package, right? And it either means that you can make money or not. And every game practice, you play well, you are getting noticed. And if you don't, you can't blame that on the agent. It's just not their job. It's your job to make sure you're a good hockey player. Now, you could look, I think what happens to some guys is they become bigger fishes in the pond, bigger fish in the pond. And all of a sudden you realize that, oh, Aaron Ekblad has this, and this, maybe some other stuff. And I'm in a bigger pool. I'm gonna cordially break up with my agent because it is a business transaction. That's one thing.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that. So you're saying if, let's say I have agent A, Aaron Ekblad also has agent A. Agent A is going to spend more time with Aaron, so it might be in my interest to go with someone else where I'm the big fish for that agent. That's what you're saying?
That's one. And then the flip is that you're maybe with a smaller guy that, he was with you thick and thin. And it's really maybe not even hard feelings, like you like the guy or whatever, but you just know that the Pat Morris of the world or the Pat Brisson has more clout in the NHL. It's like, I'm just going to be better off financially with this person.
Yeah.
It's just business. Like, and it's like, it sucks, but that stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
So that's one reason you get rid of them. Another one would be like, you just, you just don't need them. Maybe you have someone else write your tickets for you. Maybe it's you just don't see eye to eye. Like, you think I think you're a dirtbag now. Like, I don't want you. And it's like, it happens all the time. And yeah, so that's basically it. There's no real hard feelings about it.
Yeah. So I want to end for me on the the generic question that everyone always asks is, when should you get one? We've now provided a lot of context of what an agent does and when it's kind of appropriate. But just to give a specific answer to that question, because everyone always asks, is when should you get one? It's normally the 13 to 17-year-old parents that ask. So what would your answer be to that question? When should you get one? When is it appropriate? Yada, yada, just to be specific to that.
Okay, so when should you get one? Well, the reality is you don't, or when should you get one? The reality is you don't necessarily need one. That's bottom line. You don't necessarily need one. Some junior teams will say, we would rather you have an advisor or an agent. So that could be one. So that's 16, 17. You don't need one at 14. You don't need one at 13. You need one when you don't need one. But if you are going to get one, it would be when you're approaching the junior levels.
Okay.
If you're going to get one.
Not sidebar.
Not need, but yes. Okay, go.
Sidebar. If you, let's say you are approached by one, because that happens, and now there's a difference between who's approaching you. But let's assume it's a legitimate agency. They have, like, you can find them online. You can see what their bank is like. You know what's up there. If they're approaching you when you are younger, let's say 15, 14, do you say yes? Do you say no? Do you say what about that situation?
Yeah, my advice to everybody is, like, you never want to close doors. You never want to be a jerk. You want to be cordial and polite and a good person. That's my thing. Not everyone believes in that. So I would always say thank you very much for the information, but it's not something that we're looking at right now, or something that we need right now. Maybe in the future, it's something that we could talk about. And, because if I'm 14 or 15, you might be one of these guys who's just trying to throw mud on the wall and sign people.
Yep.
We'll see how persistent you are too, by the way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So give it some time. Let me get to know people or whatever. And I wouldn't even keep it as a thing, but I would always be cordial and nice to people and just say it's not something that we're looking at right now. And then, you could touch base at any time. And then you're going to realize if the guy's a pain in the ass, a dirtbag, if he calls you every week, it's like, okay, enough, man. And you're not respecting what I'm asking you. And just to remember, like, at the end of the day, that person wants your money. Yeah. They see something in your kid or in you that they could possibly make money off of. And it may not be the NHL. It could be simply, I'll make 40 phone calls for you for $5,000. Yeah. And nothing happens, but it made it look like I did work. Yeah, they did some work. So, like, it's fair is fair. So that's what I would say. Thank you very much. You can touch base with me at another point, but right now we're just not looking, or we're not interested in having one right now. I wouldn't take too much more time than that. I don't want a meeting with anybody right now because I'm 14, 15.
Now, what if we go to the exceptional circumstance where you're the best guy ever,
Yep.
and you get the Bobby Orr
you're going to start listening.
Yeah.
But then it's your thing. Remember what they're there for. They're there to build a bank account off of you. So if understand that you still have the right to say, like, don't get overly impressed. You know what I mean? Because you're the commodity. Like, you're the one. Like, even when you're playing the game, don't get so overwhelmed or so impressed that you're this guy, right? Oh, you played in the NHL. You've been coaching it for 15 years. It's like, they want you too. So don't forget that. So when someone approaches you to be your agent, you have all the time in the world to decide if this is the right person for you, and take the time, because they'll wait and they'll work for it. You could even maybe change some parameters of the deal if you're that good. But just understand that it's you. I think if you're one of the really high end guys, you'll figure it out fairly quick. Like, that
is a good move or not.
That it's a good move or not.
Yeah.
But there's no rush. There's no rush, because a lot of the times what happens is guys just sign with the first couple guys that come around, and then when the rubber meets the road, they ditch them and go to someone bigger because now, I'm actually a good player.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that's all I had. So anything else you want to finish up on, or?
This is what I finish off on. Okay, so I want to say that there's some very good agents out there, including, like, the one that represents my kid is excellent. And what I really respect about him is he respects us. And because basically we have a really good relationship that is, we don't talk all the time because there's no need to. We touch base, and we're both on the page. And I think this is actually important. The agent and us are on the same page that your job is not to get me to the NHL or him to the NHL. His job is to do everything he can, good, bad, ugly. When there's things that aren't going your way, that doesn't mean agent calls a coach, the agent calls a GM. That's not what it means. It means that let's continue to work, because the agent can be a good sounding board to remind you of that. But I really wouldn't want the agent to be the guy that takes the problems and make them bigger. And every time there's a problem, we try to call the coach, call the GM. Like that's not what we wanted. So anyways, at the end of the day, the player is the player. And no matter how good of an agent you are, you need to be performing every night, and don't ever lose sight of that. And that goes along the same lines. And listen, when it's so easy to maybe shift blame, because sometimes you could say, you know what, my agent didn't do a good enough job, that's why I didn't sign. And that could be maybe partially true. But you know the beautiful thing about hockey, and this is the point where I was getting at, it's still up to you. And because you don't sign at your first eligibility before 20, that doesn't mean that you're not going to sign. That just opens more doors. Maybe it puts a reality check on you. At the end of the day, you're going to do what you have to do anyways to make it. And if you want to make it, you're going to find out the gaps in your game, and you're going to fix them. Or maybe someone else is going to like you, but you're going to fix them. You're going to grind it out. And it's the same thing with the OHL draft or the colleges and your pathway to the NHL. It's like getting drafted. Like I was talking to one of my friends that is as a pro scout, and he said it really good to us yesterday. He said, the draft is the draft, which we know. And if you get drafted as, the elite top 10, it opens a lot of doors for you, right? But he goes, after that, he goes, guys have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, and they pick first-round picks that never pan out. How could they be wrong? They're always wrong. So he said, like, the draft is a draft. Like, if it comes and goes, you get drafted high, you don't get drafted at all, you get drafted late. He goes, you're all on the same playing field anyways. And he goes, he's saying this because he's scouting at the pro level, not the amateur level. So he's going to American League and NHL looking for other players. And he's just seeing how, after playing in the NHL and playing and grinding it out, just seeing how it's just, there's so many players out there, and it's the guys that are willing to stick it out and just do the ugly work or perfect their craft and stick to it. They find their way through. So like on draft day, the next day should be you work out at 1:00 on Sunday. That's what you're doing. Nothing will change. The effort and it doesn't get easier because you get drafted. It means absolutely nothing. It just means that you're part of our organization for a while. So like whether you sign, like, so in this situation with this person, if he signs before the end of the month, like, okay, he's in the organization. If not, like, what really changes? What really changes? You're gonna play in the East Coast American League, maybe overage, maybe somewhere. What changes if you want to get, because you're trying to make it at 24, 23, 24, 25. So nothing really changes, and the agent's not going to really make a difference. So you got to just perform, work harder, eat healthy, get to the gym, find the little things in your craft that you need to fix, and work harder than the other person. And at the end of the day, it's not about the agent, and it's not about who drafted you and who didn't, or when. It's about the plan of, here I am today. Like when you get out of junior in college, the process that you went through for the last 5 years or 6 years starts again, and it's harder. So that's it. Like, it's the biggest compliment you can get though as a player is you got drafted by the NHL team, right? Like we're not minimizing that. That's what everybody shoots for, is to get drafted. But what you can't lose sight of is that after the draft, you need to get a heck of a lot better to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
And to sign.
Yeah, it's like
signing an NHL contract. That is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
obviously.
No, yeah. Yeah,
Genius, huh?
Well, it's exactly right. You get your highlight moment, and then the work starts again. That's exactly what
The
happens.
little highlights and little lowlights.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. All right, cool. That's all I got. So we'll see you guys later.